What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 118_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, where we hit 100 plus degrees today. 101, I believe.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was 103 in my car. I didn't get the actual temperature, and it was like, you know what? It's just, well, because it's hot as a motherfucker. So let me get the heck get up out here and do what I need to do and get back in. But yes, folks, this is the Weather Book Chronicle. No, I'm just kidding. This is Comic Book Chronicles, and you can find us at the Coleslaw the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And you find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coleslaw the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
All right, folks, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. And if you get that reference, congratulations, you are old.
Oh.
But we are going to actually start off with the shows of the week, starting off with this week's My Adventures with Superman, Season 3, Episode 3, which is called All's Fair in Love and Worms.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, so All's Fair in Love and Worms is the third episode of Season 3, and yeah, you know, Jimmy, I want to call him Jimmy Olsen, but for whatever reason, Kara's name for him, Jimmy Flamebird, keeps jumping into my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jimmy's been invited to a dating party hosted by the World Organization of Romantic and Matchmaking Science, which makes up the acronym WORMS, right? And it's it's all basically a plot to make Kara. Maybe to make Kara jealous, maybe to just get Kara out of, off his brain, but things get real wacky because it's romantic and matchmaking science. And science is the operative word here because some wacky science-related things happen here. A couple of characters are introduced into Superman, into the extended Superman lore, or the extended My Adventures with Superman lore. Someone we recognize from Justice League Unlimited, but specifically from Super Friends, is featured and introduced in this episode. And we also get a fun little musical number between Kara and Lois talking about the future, and the episode ends with a hint of what the future holds. And I will hand it off to Roddykat to help fill in some of the blanks that I left behind.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it all. So as I said before, the show tends to try to do a little bit of everything in its storytelling. And I think the last one, as far as I know, I think the last thing was just checked off, quite possibly, because it did absolutely turn into a musical for that one moment during the course of this show. So, I think, I don't know what else they could do. And it continues to be a fun show. And I'm not saying that as a knock, but it was like, okay, so you get a little bit of mecha, you get a little bit of you get a lot of anime realistically. You know, you even get a little bit of a magical girl sequence in the first episode of the first season. So you know, like I said, a little bit of this and that and the other. So it's nice that the creators are having fun with this and continue to do that. Jimmy Flamebird still continues to be an idiot because first of all, you're trying to make a Kryptonian jealous. I don't think that's the smartest thing to do. With somebody who's just crush your brain just like with their two fingers. Although, you know, to be fair, Carver hadn't got to that point. Well, she had gotten away from that point, so hopefully that's not going to be the case.
I want to say, just as an interjection on that point, just to that point, I want to say, there had to have been. I did not watch Smallville to that extent, but there had to have been a plot on Smallville where one of the love interests for Clark, at least at some point, was looking to make Clark jealous. So I'm wondering if maybe the in Love and War, that particular common sense doesn't apply.
Maybe I would think something like that probably would have happened in Supergirl.
Or that I forgot about the recent Supergirl. That too, that is something I also did not watch. But my point being is that this doesn't sound like a storyline out of the blue.
I mean, no, I don't know if that was intentional, but I see what you did there. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure there was something. You know what? As much as I hate to admit it, maybe that could have been a Lois and Clark thing. Who even knows?
Right.
That definitely sounded like something that would have probably happened there.
Right.
But yeah, your point is actually valid. So in all of that, but at the same time, I still go behind what I said because because that's just like. Okay, yeah, she's not of this earth. She's got you on her brain, dude, and Lois is steadily trying to tell Jimmy, it's like, yo, why don't you just go ahead and handle that? And he's still on this thing. So that's gonna go one or two ways. We'll see. I guess we'll see as this as this season go along. Was that the case? But meanwhile, Clark, on the other side, is basically still continues to do Superman things, and we get a little bit more of another Superman adjacent character that has been already introduced, that has shown himself and also starting to show his colors, and they are not the blue and red, even though that's what he's wearing. So
yeah, it's somebody else who has an alliterative name. Not that that's the best clue, but you can kind of figure out who we're talking about when we mention an alliterative name.
Exactly, and Von Gloom, I get to that in a second. By the way, what's up? Welcome in, good sir. And but yeah, so like I said, the episode continues to be fun. That stuff's going on. Part of it, and Agent 7 kind of brought it up when he brought up the musical number, because for some strange reason, it also made me think of Batman 89, where Joker's like, Eckhart, think about the future. So, again, another reference that only certain folks are probably gonna get. But that was a whole thing right there. Now, the question I have for you, Agent 7, really quick is: Did you know who the person that Jimmy was being paired up with before what happened later on in the show?
I had an idea. I think it was the leopard print that gave it away.
Because that could have only gone two ways, but realistically, only one way in,
Right, the leopard print and the hair gave it away.
So I was like, oh, snap. And then I had to think, it was like, wait, you mean to tell me that character had not been... Now, granted, technically, that character is more of a is that not just more of a Wonder Woman-esque?
I have no idea. I don't have that kind of information on the character.
Right, but you're definitely right about the Super Friends connection. That part is right there.
Because that was my introduction to the character, so I'm fairly certain that was a lot of people's introduction to the character.
Yes, and I'm sure some people kind of had caught something off of that. But you know what, and probably this one too. We're not going to go there because that's we're trying to keep it family friendly. But yeah, so
we got some references to King Kong, which was funny.
there was that as well. So, which, I mean, obviously the 50-foot woman is also another thing, but again, that is a reference that, not that many people nowadays will probably even go nowhere near. So therein lies that. But as far as what Von Gloom says in the chat, he says, excuse me, the recent versions of Jimmy have been himbos on the level of Johnny Storm. He's not thinking with the right head. So wait, are you talking about the Supergirl? Because I don't think the Supergirl one was that much of a himbo.
I can't speak to it, so
I can't. Well, I can because, like I said, I remember I've watched enough of that show to be like, I mean, he wasn't like this version of Jimmy. That's put it this way. The only thing they share is the fact that they're both black, in that respect. But like I said, from what I remember, I don't think I think they tried to start him off that way, but it ended up not being the case on the Supergirl version. Regardless, looks like Henshaw might be a mix of Metallo in the senses that he's. I mean, I don't know, because as far as I know, that was the whole thing with Cyber Superman. And I mean, as far as I know, all the beats they're playing with that is pretty much what was this case. The funny part about this episode is there was a conversation with that character and someone else in Lex Luthor's employ who, boy, shouldn't have tried that. And that was a real dumb move. But outside of that, we saw some things, and like Agent 70 said, we got a glimpse of a future who, weirdly enough, given what we're about to talk about in a minute, slightly mirrors a version of, said the movie version from last year's movie was him. Oh, you know what? Honestly, totally forgot about that version. You're kind of right, I guess. Weird enough, I think about movie Jimmy Olsen, and I think about the one that got scrapped in in the Snyder version, which wasn't Jimmy Olsen, but still point. Superman, so Cyborg Superman in the comics had some organic components. Yeah. No one seems to
hence the cyborg, right? Hence the cyborg name. So yeah,
right. So no one seems to like Bishonen Deathstroke. That's funny. But yeah, so that's pretty much my adventures with Superman. It's delightful. Oh, also, this is also time. I'm just gonna say this small part, but just like in the recent Supergirl movie, Kara has discovered, well, not even discovered, has been fitted with headphones and a love of music. So I'm pretty sure that was kind of intentional one point, because she discovers them all. So and that just so happens to be a thing that happens. So I'm like, okay.
Right. I felt seen, and I felt shots being taken at me, because Kara says something along the lines of, how can you have a favorite band, or something along the lines of, your favorite music is from when you were a child. And I'm like, right. Good God, lady.
I'm like, well, first of all, the current state of rap is trash, so therefore your point is invalid. And then
I'm like, seriously, shots fired, man.
Right. I giggled at the same time. Then I was like, wait a minute, hold on, Kara, hold up, hold up, wait.
She's like, oh, there are all these bands. You sure there isn't somebody else out there that could be your new favorite band? And I'm like, oh God.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw her point. Her point was there, but at the same time, nah.
That's so funny. It's so funny.
But yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was pretty funny there. But that's pretty much it for my adventures with Superman. Looks, I don't want to get. Oh, speaking of also synergy, DC synergy, Clark name checks another Superman adjacent character who doesn't necessarily show up, but a similar breed of that character shows up, but not that character. Put it that way. So I was like, all right, y'all, I see y'all. But anyway, that is that, and we're going to move on to Well, I'm pretty sure I'll put a soundbite underneath this, but
Well,
X-Men
whatever you want from me.
Honestly, if once you just wait till I actually finish that version, I will. Somebody's gonna do it. Somebody hadn't done it yet. Actually, somebody did do it, but I can't find that version that they did. But they didn't do it like I was thinking that it was gonna happen. Regardless, X-Men '97 season 2 episodes 1 through 3, which are called Days of Future. Here we go. Days of Past Future. A Force to be Reckoned with for episode 2, and Rise of Apocalypse part 1.
You gotta love it. So I'm gonna go through these relatively rapid fire, and Roddykat's going to jump in. I'm gonna stop with each episode and give Roddykat a chance, because while I think it was a good idea for them to drop these 3 episodes in one shot, because it kind of helped set the stage for the rest of the series, each one kind of deserves, its own conversation, or at least, kind of a focused conversation. So in Days of Past Future, right, we're looking ahead to the far future, right? Because off the heels of what happens at the end of season 1, the X-Men are transported to distant times plural. Right, so what we have is that Cyclops and Jean Grey and others have have been thrown into those two primarily are thrown into the future with Mother Ascani, and basically this is an adaptation of the adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. When I realized that, I was like, oh snap, they're finally doing it. Like, I don't think I'd ever seen anything talk about adapting this as of yet, but this is definitely like right in that wheelhouse of 96, 97, 98, and it's definitely around that time when this comic was published. And we have Scott and Jean acting as Nathan Summers' parents, and there's a lot to it, and the series moves forward. We get I'm trying to think, is there anything else to really mention about episode 1? Go ahead, Roddykat.
Outside of the fact that, hey, so both time frames are apocalypse centric. So we got Apocalypse at the basically the height of his apocalypse power in this is where Scott and Jean and the rest of the folks are, and then of course we'll get to where in the past to as I call him, proto apocalypse. But as far as this episode is concerned, there was a couple of little things, like, yeah, we find out what Apocalypse wants from from somebody in particular. I don't know if we actually got the quote unquote unmasking of Mother Ascani, but I feel like we kind of knew, or maybe we might have actually at the end of last season. But folks in the know from X-Men would gather who that was, right. And even when we see in this issue, when we see the thing gets cut off, I was like, oh yeah, boom, it was her. Nice. So but that's pretty much that. Like I said, it just basically has to do with the folks that are in the future, what they get into, and decisions being made, and them trying to get back to the present, and also that of course Bishop and Forge, trying to go swoop them up from their future fates, or future and or past fates. So we get that whole thing going off of this, which is, again, another through line through the comic book, the prequel that is going on right now, which has just started. So that might be kind of, it might be kind of weird to some, but it's like, no, they've done this before. It's cool. I don't think there's anything else outside of what we catch at the end, which is going to into the next episode. And I do love, though, there is one little thing that there's a particular fight. And you'll see this again in the next episode, where the music gets in time to the action.
Right.
To some of the action. It's like, okay, I see they're starting to play around with some stuff. which that's cool. Like I said, we'll see a little bit more of when we talk about the next episode just now. But Von Gloom says the only thing. Oh wait, Well, we'll get to that in a second because that's about the second episode. And Von Gloom says the only thing missing was calling Scott Slim and Jean Red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that. But we get into the next episode. Go for it.
Right, and this is called A Force to be Reckoned With.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so an adult Cable recruits Jubilee and Sunspot to join his new X-Force squad. So it's very interesting to see that, and obviously I've said this multiple times before. I have to remind myself in my brain, and I have to say it out loud, this is an adaptation. This is an adaptation. It's almost a mantra because, my brain is quick to jump to, that's not how it happened. What are they doing? But it's an adaptation. And so we're looking at a version of X-Force that is created out of, it's the same concept, the younger mutants, the newer mutants, right? But it's also kind of cross-referenced with the Rick Remender, Jerome Pena X-Force, because you've got Psylocke, who's now Asian and British.
Who apparently they kept the British part and
right.
not, updated that, but go ahead.
Right. But kind of kept in the spirit of it being Betsy Braddock in somebody else's body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Archangel. So you've got kind of a melding of these two groups. The original idea of X-Force with the younger mutants, the younger new mutants, kind of growing up into this kind of Wet Works Strike Force type of X team, and like the actual Black Ops Wet Works, X-Force team that came a little bit later, and you melding the two together with Cable. And this was a really fun episode because there were so many guest appearances. There were appearances by like mutants who seemed to be kind of out of time and out of place, but because they're coming from retcon type of stories, they're in the right time frame, like the late 90s. And I'll give you an example. There's a character in there that appeared in Marvels, right? It's the bug-eyed little girl, right? That character appeared in the Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross story Marvels, right? Mm-hmm. That was Maggie, the little mutant girl from the Marvel story. And I was like, oh my God, that's Maggie. But there's plenty of other great pulls, Generation X pulls, new X-Men pulls, and other younger mutant character pulls, like everyone from the Stepford Cuckoos to Penance. Yeah, to Penance, to Quentin Quire. I knew you'd love that part. And so, we get a lot of great guest and cameo appearances. What was great here in this episode was that you have Jubilee taking on Peter David's 90s X Factor, right? X Factor 2.0. Mm-hmm. And the concept of X Factor 2.0 was basically, just slightly altered and put into this one, but not by much. It's still the same idea where they're the government sanctioned team, but Havoc's not as much of an idiot in the comics as he is
the same group,
right? As he is portrayed to be in this episode. Did you notice that Jubilee was wearing her Generation X costume?
Yes.
In this episode. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of really cool action sequences in this one. I noticed Von Gloom mentioned that he's glad that they made they made Jubilee more formidable combat wise, and how she used her powers in unique ways. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I was happy. I was happy. Listen, they really haven't had a chance to do much with Jubilee. They had to turn her into a vampire to make her somewhat interesting to some people, but I felt they never needed to do that, and that's why they had to turn her back. Mm-hmm. So, and enough people didn't like that they had to turn her back. So ultimately, um, episode 2, I think, was the standout episode in terms of just like hitting all the nostalgia feels, all of the X-Men fan feels. Um, it's. I think that if you are less informed of the lore, or less in tune with the lore, I think you can still enjoy this. But for someone like me, I was just like, wow, props to you guys. I was like, I'm not worthy. As much as I don't like the adaptation, I still like the nods to the OG stories, the original continuity. So, more power to them. Roddykat, what did you think?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, because it was definitely a standout episode for Jubilee, especially with all of that. I did find it funny that, like, yes, we do see this version of X Factor and X Force, and there's, spoiler alert, slightly they're squaring off, but a similar thing is about to happen in, once again, that sequel comic that I just mentioned. So it's like, so technically this is a round 2-ish situation, if that's coming, if that is also in canon with this, which it is basically.
Right.
Yeah, Von Gloom, I don't, I question that as well. Von Gloom asked the question as to why a character ended up using something that it would normally use to do a thing. Like I said, we don't want to give too much away. But
What's funny is that
one.
I was about to say, what's funny is that the new Archangel toy gave that particular plot point away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I haven't received mine yet, but if you take a look at, I believe there are a couple of online toy retailers that have it in stock. If you take a look at the new Archangel Marvel Legends figure, it's it's an X-Men 97 based line. It's from the X-Men 97 based line. So you'll see a certain accessory that's included that kind of hints to this particular scene.
Interesting. That being said, so the funny part about this episode is, like, okay, once again we see Jubilee get caught, but as they've shown last season, it's like, no, she's not the helpless kid that she has been shown in the comics and in the previous iteration of the series. So it was really like I said, really a showcase to her, and obviously because she's on the X Force and she got training, that we did see a little brief to kind of say, hey, this didn't come out of nowhere. So
right.
But it's like Agent 70 said, it is definitely the probably of the 3 the standout episode of the premieres. So also we might have even seen a little bit of focused totality, but from a different angle.
Right. They even do a little bit of James Gunn esque fight choreography where Ju puts some headphones on, hits play on what she's got in her Walkman, and
which again goes back to what I said about the first episode too. So
exactly, and fights to a soundtrack, and I thought that was pretty fun.
I was like, yeah, they're continue to play with it. Oh yeah, Glob Herman, that was the character. I was like, wow, they even pulled that one. That was a pull that they had up in here.
Yeah, and what's funny is that, like, it reminds you that a lot of these characters have been around for a long time, although they feel very new to me as a long-time reader, or relatively long-time reader,
Right. So it's like, okay, so they're just kind of throwing some folks here and there. And of course we get a little bit of, Nathan Dayspring, getting some familiar gear. Actually, we technically saw that in the first episode, but we get to see him using a particular thing to kind of help things along before we get into the third episode, which is in the past, which is.
Oh, we're transitioning to episode 3. So episode 3, what's the title of episode 3?
It is Rise of Apocalypse
part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's part 1, Rise of Apocalypse. So yeah, we're back in the past. So the other half of the X-Men are at least trying to get along with with Ensabanur, right? You better get used to hearing that name. If you were not already familiar with it, get familiar with it now. So we get to see this character in his nascency, where he's coming to grips with his power, and he's coming to grips with what kind of character he's going to be, and we start to see where the survival of the fittest aspect of the character starts to develop and come into play. um, One of the interesting things here is that because Magneto is with the X-Men here in the past, it's Magneto who finds himself working with Apocalypse, and Xavier's also trying to say, "Hey, man, let's not try to mess up the timeline here."
Mhm.
You know, and Magneto's trying to do things a certain way where he sees an opportunity, right? What's funny is that at the end of the episode, we see things kind of the way a lot of timey-wimey movies tend to go. When you try to mess with time messes back, and it tends to go exactly the way it's supposed to go, even though you try to change it. That's my take on it. Roddykat, what's yours?
Yep, all of that is legit. I found it funny, the fact that Xavier got upset with Magneto for trying to sell I'm just gonna call him Proto Apocalypse, because but try to sell him on Charles' dream, and Chuck was upset about that. He was like, "But I'm just," Magneto was like, "But I'm just trying to sell him on your dream so you can try to do this." And in that moment I thought, wait, so were they going to try to set up Krakoa with that? Because that seems like where that could have gone if that had worked out sort of in a kind of way. But like Agent 70 said, it did not. I was like, man, that'd have been a nice new thing for them to put in if they were just going to do a couple episodes of that and before. But that could be next season if they choose to do so. That being said, though, Von Gloom says that before I go any further, love the implication that Cable would train the kids. Yeah, and it seems a bit weird to have Berto without Sam Guthrie, and I added, yeah, also X-Force without Boom Boom is kind of weird, because I kind of expected her to show up in that last episode, but it did not, sadly. But yeah, so this whole time we got the folks in the past. We again, like I said, Bishop was on one end of the time stream and Forge was on the other end. Which I going back to that first episode, Forge made a joke, was like, "Dang, I should have gone to the past," because of what ended up happening, or what happens when he gets there. And then, like I said, we see Bishop shows up here, and we see with them trying to get back to their stuff, and foreshadowing happens and things. We also even get a Kang variant, by the way, which if you're not really versed in the Kang variants, or the whole thing, you just been like, oh no, this is just some dude, some random dude. Like, nah, was an actual dude, whom they seem to be playing a little bit more with, if the indications that they are using in this is something, but we shall see. But outside of that, yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger, which that was expected, but it wasn't the cliffhanger, the actual cliffhanger that I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be, well, there's been rumored that there's going to be somebody coming back this season, and I was like, well, I expected they were going to try to run up to that real quick, but I don't. I guess they're saving that one for later on, if that is indeed the case. Excuse me. So therein lies that. And love how Xavier ends up doing the thing that he didn't want to do, which he knew was going to happen, because it was like, yeah, he was doing all this. We don't want to disrupt the timeline, and then ends up doing this thing anyway. Like, yeah, that's hypocritical chalk. ready to go.
Mm,
Von Gloom says maybe Bo DeMayo said only one mall rat with explosive powers per team. Again, yeah, I mean that could have been the case, but you know,
yeah.
going
I
into
mean,
this
Jubilee. Yeah, I was about to say
season,
Jubilee's acting as a stand-in for several characters. You know, from the OG version of X-Force, and like I said, it was interesting that they decided to go cross-generation and mix in some of the characters from the Remender Opena X-Force as well. So you know, we were just missing a Deathlock really, and that's kind of Cable. So
yeah,
you know, it was an interesting mix. You know, like while we got the OG X Factor 2.0, the Peter David 2.0, the Peter David X Factor 2.0, that is.
right.
We got that, you know, in their entirety.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think they had showed up in the first series anyway, so they had already been established, so it wasn't like
They
anything was
were.
going to change.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if I remember correctly, I'm almost
don't
fairly
remember.
certain. I want to say they probably, if not the fourth or fifth series, I feel like that was a thing that had already been established.
Okay.
Like I said, it's been a long time since I saw it, but I feel like those, yeah, all of those characters have definitely shown up previously in that iteration, I believe. So I'm sure somebody will correct me if that's the case. But someone else was gonna say I don't remember what it is. Well, it just doesn't matter because, like I said, with this episode, that's the end of the premiere. I should have pulled up that timeline that we had for the episodes just to see if there's going to be any more, like, you know, if everything's going to come out singularly, or you know they're going to do another double episode week or something like that. But I'll have to look for that later. But for right now, we are actually, unless we got something else about that, and it sounds like no. So, because I could actually talk about these 3 episodes, because there was some stuff that was like, oh, that was neat. But we're going to get into the comic books of the week really quick, starting off with, pull this up, but Gatchaman Red Impulse number 3 of 4.
Alrighty, Gatchaman Red Impulse number 3 of 4, published by Mad Cave, is written by Steve Orlando with art by Ricardo Ribaldo, colors by Rebecca Nalty, and letters are by Frank Svetkovic. So we get an interesting story of the pilots of Red Impulse who go undercover and AWOL to a certain extent against the orders of Dr. Nambu, in order to back up the Gatchaman team while they're fighting a possum. No, not just any possum. A robotic possum, a kaiju possum. And you know, they make some people think twice about what they think about Galactor, apparently, but then Galactor sees them and says, hey, that's not what Galactor people do. And you know, things turn around. We get a guest appearance by one member of Gatchaman, and you know, it's a little bit of all's well that ends well. But yeah, it was a nice little kind of a story of the backup team actually backing them up without being deployed as the active backup. You know, kind of a weird. It's a weird premise, but it turned out to be a pretty fun story. What did you think?
Yeah, again, as we've established, seems like Red Impulse is the like the Wetworks team, you know, in support of Gatchaman. And the funny thing about this issue, I guess a couple of funny things about this issue actually, is that one, you know, it had been established that the captain of Red Impulse and Dr. Nambu knew each other for a long time, and Nambu knows, you know, the captain's quote unquote secret, because, you know, like I said, in Racer X fashion, he is related to one of Gatchaman.
Of course.
That one for yourself. So partially seeing the team in trouble, obviously it was like, you know what? No, I still want to go help him because Dr. Nabu was like, no, this is a teachable moment. they can't be an effective team if we just go out there and save them every time, which technically is kind of right, but at the same time it's like, yeah. As we saw in this issue, like now you can give help without actually doing the things for them. So therein lies that, and no one is the wire. And we also end up meeting I presume the last member of Red Impulse, who, as I called him in my notes, the team's personal Snake Eyes.
Yes.
Because just like the Joe's favorite ninja, he is also without voice in a similar fashion, and also
yes.
Has reason for it that we find out. So we do get a little bit of backstory about this character during the course of this issue and their effectiveness. So I'm like, all right, yeah, this is it. This is seems like it. So we only got one more issue to go with this, and you know, I presume after that issue, maybe they'll show up in pages of the Galactic, Gatchaman proper, or just not. You just know they'll be there, and you know, whatever the case may be. But we'll see if they have any of those type plans going forward after this series is done. Next book that we have is Batgirl number 21.
Alrighty, Batgirl number 21, published by DC. It's written by Tate Bromble, with art by Steven Segovia. Colors are by Rain Barreto, and letters are by another lettering paisan, Tom Napolitano. So this is the next chapter in this. I gotta pull this up because I wanted to get the name right. It was on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot it. Because we're diving into more kind of retconning Batgirl's origin story, and this is was it Dr. Forget-Me-Not? Is that the name?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
And I did that clap because for people of a certain vintage know that as a Patrice Rushen song, and you've also heard it in Men in Black. So
there you go. So we're trying to piece together with Cassandra what the origin of this murder that's being pinned on her is. And ultimately, it traces all the way back to her origin story. And we're, like I said, filling in a lot of blanks, lots of retconning here. And while I'm not the most familiar with her origin story, I know enough now from having read big chunks of this book now, where it's a pretty dark story until she's kind of shown the light when she joins the Bat family, and she's trying to rebuild herself in their mold, but with nods to where she's come from. And this is a pretty big step. We're taking a pretty big look at her kind of secret origin at this point. So we do at least get to see part of her process, her own detective process, and I like that. I don't know how familiar that is to people who are not longtime readers of the character, but I'm glad that we were diving a little bit into her deductive work. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. So it's kind of funny because the way this is set up is like, yeah, she has to solve this murder about that she has to solve a murder having to do with something she doesn't remember, and only using her memories. And in that, part of her deductive skills gets, as video game folks would call it, nerfed. because she can only use what she had at the time of, or at least the way they sounded. She only used the skills that she had at the time, and there were certain parts of her past where she was not verbal and did not know verbal language. So she was kind of, so part of that is like, okay, she's only left with other things to deal with in this. So the fact that they explore that and, and to the extent that they do is actually kind of interesting. That the adversary that she's going up against weirdly reminds me of the Riddler. Because of how they're messing with her, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. Obviously, this is probably a new character made up for the story, I assume. I don't think this character has come up anywhere else. Meanwhile, while internally Cass is dealing with that, her newfound brother and a new friend are basically trying to protect her from what's going on outside in Gotham, with a little bit of help from a parental unit, thanks to that. And another thing that we kind of find out during the course of this story is that there seems to be some red room on the Marvel side, some red room type tactics being used.
Right. That's a good pickup.
Yeah, in the shaping of the people involved. So I was like, interesting. But like I said, we are left at the end of this with a potential answer, or what we're led to be believed to be the answer to the question that that Cass has been looking for, because of what the adversary is looking for. But it may or may not be the case. We'll find out next issue. And with that, I believe we only have the one other book that we have in common, which is, I'm just going to go ahead and say, a potential click of the week for myself. Fantastic Four number 13.
Yes, Fantastic Four number 13, published by Marvel, is written by Ryan North, with art by Andrea Sorrentino. Colors are by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by VC's Joe Caramagna, our favorite lettering paisan. So it's notable that Andrea Sorrentino is doing the art on this, because I think it was somewhat necessary to have like a slightly different take on the FF for a story like this. No shots against Humberto Ramos, right? But I think that Andrea Sorrentino was a great choice for doing the story, because his art is known to be on the darker side, and that lends itself to the story being told here. And it's a comedic story, but still a dark story, right? And the concept actually takes into, the concept is actually pretty fun. What's on the cover makes sense when you read the book, right? It's not one of those covers that don't relate to what's going on in the issue. This is very much so something that gets covered in the book, as well as the notation that it is not the depicted character, but an incredible simulation. And that is part of the gag here. That's the conceit of the story. And I'm not going to spoil the entire gag, but let's just say that two members of the FF take a particular plan to its logical conclusion, but at the same time take it too far. Yes. Get into a bit of a hang-up, and they have to get bailed out by the other half of the FF. And at the end of the day, the character depicted on the cover has to show up and say, "Hey, I see you literally. I'm watching you literally." It was a lot of fun. Definitely also a candidate for Click of the Week for me. Roddykat, your thoughts on this book?
Yeah, it was a very fun read. I mean, even with what partially ends up happening, what could have potentially happened, but let's just put it this way: the member of the FF who you would first think would come up with a potentially dumb idea that turns out to be actually fairly decent does, and as Agent 70 says, takes it to a little too far, takes it far
Takes
and
it
a
to
little
its
too
logical
far.
end, but a little too
Yes.
far.
Mm-hmm. So, which, as he said, you know, as he said, I'm not to go back. Yeah, so they cause him to have to get bailed out, but at the same time, basically cause another set of folks to do a similar thing.
Right.
And I'm saying it because it was kind of funny to me because I was like, you know what? If I was Ghost Rider, I'd be kind of perturbed by something like this happen, and then ends up showing up, and in a way that kind of like, yep, there you go. That makes the complete sense right there, you know. So, and then of course the person who makes up who made up the initial plan still doesn't learn because that's that character. So go figure on that one.
Right. Listen, I've been a fan of Ghost Rider since before the '90s reboot, right?
Okay.
But I did not have a chance to really read that much of the character because by the time I hit the comic scene, the character had kind of gone away and then had to be rebooted into the '90s version of the character. Right. I didn't know anything about Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider, but for what was in the OHOTMU. Right. They were like, oh, he was last in Champions. I'm like, when was that book published?
Right. That was like early 80s.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, when did that book? I don't recognize this book at all. So ultimately, I'm most familiar with the '90s Ghost Rider, and I absolutely love that version of the character. I read that character. I read that book, not religiously, but I read enough of it. The look was great. The power set was great. I loved using that character in Overpower. I used that character in Hero Kliqs. Just a great, balanced character. Not too strong, not too, not underpowered. Just a great, usable character. And hence, why this character, has a particular reputation amongst the bad guys that they encounter in this issue. So that's what kind of made me smile and hit me in that kind of Ghost Rider fan feels when I read this issue.
Yeah, dude. Actually, you mentioned all those video games. Like, yeah, he was actually kind of fun in Marvel Heroes as well.
Oh yeah, Marvel. Yeah, I was about to say Marvel vs. Capcom. He's in there too. The Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He's a lot of fun. Yeah, I was talking about the what is it? The collectible card game, the board game, the figure game. I'm a fan of the character. That '90s iteration really, really imprinted on a lot of people, and it was just a fun character to play with, like literally play with. And now I see Ryan North having like a pretty fun moment with the character here in this issue.
Right. I would assume, and unless again, sometimes this happens with Fantastic Four and Ryan North. Like, this seems like a kind of a one-off story that some would, if this was anime, this would probably be a filler episode or whatnot. But some of those are actually pretty good. It's not to detract, but who knows if Ryan North's gonna come back to this, and very much could, because this has happened before. It's like, oh, here's this one-off thing that happened in the book that just so happened to come back a few issues later for some odd reason, and it's not like, as it was said, Ghost Rider hasn't worked with the FF before, because again, folks of a certain vintage would remember the team where what was it? It was him, Spider-Man. Wait, who was on that team?
Hulk and Wolverine.
There you go. So basically, all of the popular '90s characters was all on the team together.
Right, they were a substitute FF.
Right.
Yeah, that was a Walt Simonson, Arthur Adams story.
So, so this kind of tickles a couple of people's that we sin. And also, I will say, going back to the gaming front, we might have a story about a version of this character later in the news section.
Yes.
Let's just say. So, but that being said, like I said, Fantasy 413, great. Potential click of the week. Yeah, there's really not much to say. It's a fun issue. That being said, we are going to go into rapid fire.
Rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to breathe.
Alrighty, first up for me is Batman number 11. This is published by DC. It's written by Matt Fraction with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomeu More, letters are by Clayton Cowles and Jorge Jimenez. This issue picks up right where we left off in the last issue, where Batman is dealing with a new character on the block who has been sent to assassinate his alter ego. And this character, he encountered this character while on a date, while Bruce is talking about it not being a date, while on a date with one of his scientist employees. And this scientist employee accidentally finds out his secret identity, and he also has to go through a quickie 2-page recap of the origin of Damian Wayne and the origin of Batman's relationship with Talia al Ghul. So, I thought that was pretty cool. That was a great 2-page spread that Jorge Jimenez did. Ultimately, though, this new character, I need a name. Looking for it. Leave out the playboy. That's a good. That's a good. That's a good comment there. Von Gloom, very good comment there about how he had to go broke in order to actually become a playboy. So the character's name is the Ojo, right? Definitely taking on aspects of Japanese swordplay and other cultural aspects of Japan. But what's funny about this is that at the end of the issue, we're introduced to a new player in the Batman supporting cast. And
yeah, we might have a spoiler. We might have a little bit more on that in the news as well.
Right. And they do describe who this person is and how they are related to someone very close to Bruce Wayne. So that's who drops at the end of this issue. It's their cameo appearance. It's basically their first cameo appearance. I would say their first full appearance is going to be in the next issue, a la Wolverine. So that's that. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man number 32. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Patrick Gleason. Colors are by Marcio Meniz and Eric Arciniega, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. Spidey's working through some stuff in this issue, and he's working through some of the revelations that happened in the previous issue. He's got more family than he knew he had before. And it's interesting to see this aspect of Peter explored. It's kind of this self-destructive aspect of Peter, where he takes things out on bad guys, right? This seems to me that it's, I guess, a relatively recent character trait that's been developed over like more recent Spider-Man creators, but it seems to be more and more that Spidey, when life gets a little heavy, he will go not just web swing to clear his head, but also kind of do a little bashing heads in to kind of work out some of his anger and frustration. But what it turns out to be is that he has a specific idea because he's, again, Peter Parker, he's guilt ridden. So he's doing something, he's doing all this in this issue to because he noticed that something was for sale, and he wants to get that that certain something that's being sold, or at least put up for auction, because he, of course, as Spider-Man, feels responsible for something bad having happened to the owner of these things. So that's very Peter. It's very much him. So that's really this story in a nutshell. We're moving on to something that might be a little bit more related to the Brand New Day movie coming out in a month, less than a month, end of the month, because the next issue involves Damage Control. Next up for me is Marvel Swimsuit Special Brand New Beach Day #1. There are multiple stories in this book. Bear with me here, folks. So the first story is written by Daniel Kibblesmith with art by Alessandro Miracolo. Colors are by Jesus Bertov. Story 2 is written by Rainbow Rowell with art by Phil Noto. Story 3 is written by Anthony Oliveira with art by Pablo Collar. Colors are by Rochelle Rosenberg. Story 4 has writing and art by Dan Schade. Colors are by Rochelle Rosenberg. And story 5 is written by Cody Ziegler. Art is by David Baldion, and colors are by Edgar Delgado. Letters on this entire book are by Ariana Mayer. So yeah, this is a swimsuit issue. That first story is kind of fun. It's it's a beach bash with a lot of guest appearances. The whole the conceit of the story is that Namor's putting on this story. He's trying to get Sue Storm to show up to a beach party, and she does. But yeah, Sue's always gonna have the last word on these things. Where Namor is involved. And Roddykat is putting up some of the variant covers on this book, but I had to get the A cover on this, the prime cover, the fold out J. Scott Campbell cover. So that's that. Alrighty, next up is Mortal Thor #12, published by Marvel. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Jesus Saiz. Colors are by Matt Miller, and letters on this book are by VC's Joe Sabino. So, while it seems like we're getting to a climax in this book, we're still getting more of the battle between the former Donald Blake and what might be the reincarnation of Donald Blake. We'll see, the story is being told by the Skald Loki has become twisted. Odin steps in this issue and says, "Hey, this has gone a little too far." But the bottom line here is that we're still not sure. We think we know that who Sigurd Jarlson is, but it's kind of fun to see how all of this is playing out. Al Ewing does a great job in telling these really great long form stories. So this is also a candidate for Click of the Week for me, and that's it for me. Roddykat, take it away.
Alrighty. Von Gloom in the chat says that he digs the Vulture costume redesign.
Yes.
Oh, I'm presuming that's going to be a figure at some point, right?
Very much so.
And actually, while we're here, well, I'll probably wait. I'll wait. Never mind. Strike that from the record. All right,
I do have show and tell. I did get something new in the mail, or new shipped to me this week.
I also have show and tell, so great. We'll have to remember that for at the end of the show. So for myself, we're going to start off with a little bit of, well, I guess this is a thing, but greetings, Starfighter. We start off with The Last Starfighter, #1, written by Benjamin Robb and Derek A. Hughes, with art by Willie Roberts. Colors by Francesco Segala, Flatter Agnes Posa, and letters by Rob Jones. Who? Rob Jones. Who? Okay, that's never mind. Somebody out there will get that. But so this is the continuation of the 80s movie The Last Starfighter. If you've not seen that movie, well, I would say you should. You know, if you're a certain vintage, you'll appreciate it. If not, I don't know what to say about some of y'all young people who are just lost in the sauce. But you get a little bit of catch up at the beginning of this as to what happened in the movie, and also there was a movie adaptation of the movie that came out last week, just in case you're interested in that. But the short story is, hey, here's this kid in a trailer park who ends up being recruited to fight space aliens because of a video game that was at his trailer park that he just so happens to be really, really good at. Someone comes to Earth to swoop him up. He gets recruited because there's an intergalactic war going on outside. No man is safe from. Things happen, and he ends up becoming the title character, the Last Starfighter, and ends up saving the day. Cut to where this book is taking up is some short time after the events of that movie, and you know, of course, things have to happen. There needs to be a new Starleague, which is the group that recruited him. So they got to rebuild that, and he's tasked. And the character's name is Alex Rogan, by the way. So Alex is tasked with rebuilding the Starleague, trying to find new recruits, and just basically rebuilding while there are forces out there that are acting against them. One of which may have been from the movie that might have gotten away. I can't remember because I could have sworn at the end of that movie, the bad guys were heading towards not existing anymore. If I actually inclined to watch that movie again because I actually like that movie, even though I mean it's not a great movie, but it's a pretty good movie for the time. So I will probably end up watching that again. Regardless, that is the crux of this here issue here. And like I said, we've come to find out that there are some folks that are basically, hey, they're trying to you know, they're trying to recruit folks, but some folks are trying to get rid of the potentials for this new Starleague because they don't want that to happen, or whatever the case may be. So I guess we're going to find out a little bit more about that, you know, in the forthcoming issues. Also, I say in my notes, Alex, the main character, meets Akira, as in Kira Nerys. If you are a Star Trek, the Deep Space Nine fan, you may possibly understand what that reference is in terms of, because he does end up meeting a potential candidate, but she's a little feisty, full of anger for reasons that you find out in the course of this issue, similar to Kira Nerys and Deep Space Nine. So it was kind of interesting to see that being the case. Next up, we go over into the DC corner with Absolute Green Lantern number 16, written by Al Ewing, art by Sid Koshian, colors by Pressy, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. So we still got a couple of things going on. There's a lot going on in this thing. Joe and folks are still out in space. We get a little bit of glimpse of what's been going on back on Earth with some side characters, one of which is a Green Lantern, definitely a Green Lantern adjacent character who may or may not be around anymore. I'm not sure. We get some messages from the afterlife before meeting another adjacent Lantern character who is going to have their own animated series quite soon, by the by. But they may or may not be on the side of the equation that you know them for fully. But Joe, as the main character, is starting to kind of get into her role a little bit more, or basically learn more about her powers. So pretty much everybody who's getting powers in this, and some of the folks most of the folks in here you know if you're into Lantern lore, have different versions of their power set, and they're still learning that. And we got like some stuff going on that's going against them, and a good bit of mumbo jumbo going on, but still a quite interesting read personally. Next up, we have DC and Sonic the Hedgehog, Metal Legion number 3 of 5. Written by Ian Flynn, art by Adam Bryce Thomas, and colors by Matt Herms. So this is the part 3 of this crossover with those two franchises. And this is where the tables have turned, because so you have on one side Dr. Eggman in league with the Legion of Doom and Lex Luthor, and of course you have the Justice League on the other side with Sonic the Hedgehog and his crew. Well, the League and Sonic's crew had gotten captured at the end of last issue, but apparently they knew things were going on. So everything that is going on is kind of partially according to plan, and they even had folks kind of doing some stuff for them that were within the criminals organization. But this is where the two big brains, aka Dr. Eggman and Lex Luthor, part ways, because of course they were going to double cross each other, and do in this one. Apparently one gets the other hand and the other is big mad about it, but still had an ace up the sleeve that, of course, the good guys knew about, which were expecting, and now it is going into the next couple of issues where things are going to be all right in the world. Last but not least for me, I feel like I probably need to reread this, but I'm still going to talk about it. Iron Man number 7. I did read it, but there's a couple of things I'm missing. Iron Man number 7, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Von Randall, color artist Eric Arciniega, and letters by Joe Carbone. Oh, actually, there was one more thing I forgot about from that last book, because this happens.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
That gets said a couple of different times, but one in particular. Anyway, like I said, Iron Man number 7. I already said the creative team. So James Rhodes comes to visit Tony, partially because of, well, first of all, there's a footnote at the beginning of this book, a couple of footnotes saying that this takes place before what is going on in Captain America, and it specifically calls out Captain America number 11 for a reason. We see Rhodey talking with Captain America at the start of this book before going to see Tony, because we found out last issue that, the reason why he's going to see Tony is because people are trying to keep track of Tony for what he's doing right now, because, just in case he ends up spiraling or whatever the case may be. And it kind of seems like they might have reason to do so, but maybe not, or at least they believe that is the case. So, like I said, Rhodey comes to visit. There's a team up happens, of course, There's another big talk or two that happens as well between the two, and then at the end we get a little bit from the forthcoming adversary who was thought lost during the last couple of issues of the book, who has basically taken over an organization, but also is bringing back apparently a long-standing Iron Man villain who did showcase in a MCU movie, MCU Iron Man movie. Just saying. Whether they're going to go with that version of this character or not, don't know. Guess we'll find out next issue. And that is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So already said by potential. One is Fantastic Four number 13, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I've got candidates. FF number 13 is a candidate for me as well. Mortal Thor number 12 is another candidate, and I would say that Batman number 11 was another candidate for me, because I thought that it was a great follow-up to a recent story, a relatively recent issue that dealt with a reveal of Batman's secret identity. So, and I like the idea of the return of a particular dynamic in the pages of Batman. As heralded by the cliffhanger last page. But I also will pick Fantastic Four number 13 as my click of the week this week. I will second that particular emotion.
Yeah, I thought it was just a great fun read.
Yes.
So I know there are people that are kind of off the book, but give it another chance. There's been some really good storytelling. Well, I mean, everything's not everybody's cup of tea, so you gotta give grace in that situation. So, but like I said, give it a shot. There's some fun stuff in there. Again, shout out to Last Starfighter, because that was interesting for what that was. I'm curious to see what the sales of that one's going to be, because if we find out anything in recent history, that nostalgia does indeed sell. Now, how far that's going to happen, then we'll see. There was also, notably, before we go into the news section, a couple of books that came out this week that we didn't get a chance to talk about, which was one, Star Wars Rogue One Saw Gerrera. That was a thing. I wanted to read it, but I didn't get a chance to. And I know Agent 70 would have had a soundbite if I had a specific soundbite if I had read that one. Doctor Strange number 8 came out this week. Didn't get a chance to check that one out. And there was also that what was it? I don't think I have the Challenges of Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four. Excuse me, Mr. Fantastic came out this book. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but I assume it's probably hey, here's some past stuff that where they were against each other. Don't know. Admittedly, wait, did you pick up you said you did pick up a physical version of that swimsuit edition, swimsuit thing, right?
I did. It's the J. Scott Campbell. Right.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it. So last week when we were talking about the variant covers, I said that there was an obligatory Mary Jane Watson one, and that was not Mary Jane Watson. That was indeed Jean Grey, the Phoenix, because I did not pay attention to the swimsuit.
Oh, interesting.
If you're watching
because
video
Mary
version,
Jane, I was about to say, because Mary Jane is on the regular copy, the J. Scott Campbell cover. Oh, that is Phoenix. I missed that as well. Because
I had to take a closer look at that.
Right, because the main cover is a Spidey-centric cover. It's the Spidey universe. So.
Yeah, I'll pull that up right. Actually, no, I don't. Yeah, no, it is. No, that's it. So there you go. That's the A cover right there for folks. The A cover is basically the main cover, for folks who may not know. And then they go down the line with
sorry for diving into the lingo of variant covers. Right, it's the A cover.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, that's the
one.
Right,
and believe it or not, that's actually folds out, because there's another. There's a it's an 8-fold cover.
Yeah, I don't have that full cover, but I know we talked about it last week. So that was actually a pretty good looking cover, though. There's a couple actually fairly good looking covers here. I like the Sue one. The Sue one's actually cute, very cute. The Mercury Andolfo one. That if you're watching the video version, you can see that one. But yeah, good stuff. So yeah, there was a couple of things that came out this week. Like I said, didn't get a chance to get to. But if worth it, then maybe we'll circle back. Probably not. That being the case, we're going to get over into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read for this episode is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torrontés, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. do it today. Now we get into the news.
Cinematic news we'll do about this time. Starting off with, we're talking about Supergirl again. And next we'll talk about something else. There's a story in the clickbait section that'll also you may or may not want to peruse this. But Supergirl apparently didn't do all that good. The opening weekend. It made numbers, but not the type of numbers that some folks would probably expect. Apparently came up with
that's a disappointing story.
Yeah.
Very disappointed to hear this.
Yeah, 37 million to round out the opening weekend of that. My wife was actually asking me, was like, did not like Supergirl? I'm like, yeah, well, there are some people, but at the same time, it was opening weekend. Sometimes it does good, sometimes they do good, depending on, whatever the case may be. But, I mean, again, we've already said our points about it. It's still a good movie, but there's still some things about it. So.
Right. I mean, I said it was serviceable, but it's definitely worth a watch. Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Don't take that as it's not worth a watch. I think it's worth a watch.
See, that's the funny part, because that is the thing that specific thing has been the thing I've been hearing in other places aside from us, that it's worth a watch.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I definitely get why, it's tough it's a tough market for Supergirl, because there is a kid-friendly kind of 4-quadrant movie that's out there that's gotten good reviews also, right? It's Toy Story 5. It's up against Toy Story 5. And while I have not yet made time to go see Toy Story 5, I do intend to catch it before it leaves theaters, or at least try to. I know that there's a quick turnaround on these things because they'll be on streaming before you know it. Last I checked, I saw a story that Project Hail Mary is going to hit streaming within the next week.
Yep, July 3rd.
Which is wild. I'm like, I remember seeing that in the theater. It feels like it does feel like it was yesterday, but it wasn't. I know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, these things do turn around. So that does also play, have an effect on whether or not you're going to run and see it in the theaters. Some people, just want to wait until it hits streaming.
Yeah, indeed. And like you just haven't said, Toy Story was the big winner of the week with 70 million. So it's Toy Story 5, excuse me, and whatever else. There's two things I've heard about Toy Story 5. One, when it was announced, people were like, why do we need this? It doesn't, they could have stopped as I've said before, they could have stopped after XYZ one, and then people, other side of that is people actually going to see it and be like, oh, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's actually pretty good because they still have stories to tell, and I think that's why they keep making them. Right. As long as they have stories to tell, they're going to keep making them.
Well, and Disney wanting that, fountain of money to not stop.
Exactly.
Because, like I said, a long time ago, Pixar said we don't do sequels, and they ended up having to do sequels because of the whip was thrust upon them. So therein lies that. Next up, though.
Alrighty, sorry. I got all caught up in talking about that story. Prime Video unveils Batman Caped Crusader Season 2 trailer, plus news on Hell of a Boss and Invincible from Annecy. Prime Video and Netflix did battle at the Annecy Animation Fest with competing sessions in which they talked up slates. So this is a story from last week, around June 24th. At the Amazon event, a new trailer for Batman Caped Crusader Season 2 was unveiled, with the Bad Robot show set to premiere July 31st. Damn, that's coming at the end of the month. I mean, look, we're going out to watch Brand New Day first and then watching this. But still, it's cool that it's out there, Prime Video also had news about Hell of a Boss, with EP Vivienne Medrano showing that the first part of Season 3 will premiere on Prime Video on October 14th. While she showed the Annecy crowd an exclusive clip. And the other big news is that Robert Kirkman's Invincible has been renewed for 6th season. I think we might have talked about this.
We talked about that already, yeah.
Right. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. There was something else. I think there might be another. I still need to watch that show. Another. That's not in here.
Oh, it
I was
looks
about
like
to
the panel also shared upcoming animated titles in development. That's in
Right.
development, such as Conan the Barbarian from
Right.
Cartoon Network Studio, with an interim message from Conan creator Gendy Tartakovsky. Samurai
That
Jack,
actually should be good.
Conan the Barbarian.
Right. If it's like some of his other stuff like Clone Wars, that actually might be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously he's known for more than just Clone Wars and. Wait, was he Dexter's Lab or something? I can't remember. He did one of those. Regardless, he's done some good stuff. I think there might be another season of Secret Level, which is basically like, hey, they're taking video game characters and doing CG animation to them, a la Star Wars Vision. But I can't remember if that is in this or not. I don't see it. They name check somebody that's in here though. Regardless, therein lies all of that we didn't get around to last week. Next up, though, the Polygon story about why, the X-Men, the animated series showrunner explains why Apocalypse doesn't work in live-action movies. Take that. that one Oscar Isaac Apocalypse X-Men movie that I still have not watched yet, by the way. So Larry Houston says Apocalypse is like the ultimate mutant bad guy. If anyone on Earth is qualified to make this claim, it's probably Larry Houston, who directed all 76 episodes of the original X-Men of the animated series and serves as executive producer of X-Men 97. The quote is, when we did Apocalypse in 92, we wanted to establish that the guy is so powerful and so unbeatable that the only way you defeat him is to outthink him. Because he has too many superpowers had too many superpowers back again. Which actually, watching this week's episode had made me wonder, like, wait, what was actually his mutant powers outside of just being really strong
I
and
completely
long-lived?
forgot.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, and we'll look into that. But yeah, so this is the story basically talking with him about that, and it probably does mention. Yep, it does mention Days of Future Past in here. So therein lies that. But you can check that story out for yourself to check that what he says about that. Next up.
Star Wars Visions presents the 9th Jedi trailer debut. So the Jedi and the Sith have disappeared, but the Force remains an ally to those who wish to stand up for what is right. This summer, trust in the Force and listen to your heart. When Kara resumes her quest to find her missing father and evade Jedi hunters, in Star Wars, Visions presents The Ninth Jedi, a new limited series from Lucasfilm and Production IG. Okay, so this is anime inspired. You can watch the original Japanese trailer as well as the full English dub anime trailer on this video link on this page and the video linked herein.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who doesn't like more Star Wars Visions-esque stuff, right? Next up, and actually I probably could have put this down the line in the anime section, but it's fine. New animated series Adventure Time Bubblegum and Marceline gets HBO Max order, excuse me. So it's going to be a 10-episode series, and of course this is another Annecy announcement. So it's being produced in partnership, with Cartoon Network Studios. All of that. So let's see. And all of the other Adventure Time spinoffs they talk about, they're here. The same people seems like one of the same people that's behind those or behind this. And it looks like, and then also mentions that Adventure Time side quest thing, which had started already on Disney Plus and Hulu a couple of days ago prior to this recording. So there you go. Next up.
Bandai Namco has reimagined classic fighting game characters like Kazuya and Kuma in the first teaser for a Tekken cartoon. Officially stylized as Tekken Cartoon, the minute-and-a-half long trailer mixes live action and animated elements to reveal an unexpected offshoot for the publisher's long-running fighting game series. Just 5 characters, Kazuya, Kuma, Yoshimitsu, Paul, and Elisa, show up in the video, but we wouldn't be surprised to see more cute versions of fan-favorite characters show up in whatever the final product ends up looking like. Okay.
Yeah, indeed. And excuse me, if you're looking at the video version, you're still not going to see it because apparently it's not showing up on this page, but that's fine. No worries. Scoot this over here. Danny McBride details a new G.I. Joe movie aiming to film in 2027. Apparently he wrote we kind of talked about this in the past because he was rumored to be one of the people writing a new G.I. Joe movie, and apparently he does have one written according to this, and according to the quote, it's not a comedy. So, because as folks may or may not know, Danny McBride has done a lot of comedy stuff, so, or he's known for that specifically. He was on some podcast, I'm not going to name it here, but if you're watching the video version, you can see it. He was asked about the status of his G.I. Joe film, and he confirmed that he's completed the script that Paramount appears to be happy with. There are another of interesting people who are in talks to star in the film, and they're hoping to shoot it next year. Apparently, it's going to follow Duke and a group of other Joes. And there's this town that some people may have heard of called Springfield. That's secretly all Cobra, he said, and that's where the film is going to take place. So, if you know about the Joe lore, that name might have come up once or twice, whether in animated and or comic book form. So, sounds familiar, put it this way. Let's see. Although, according to this article, although McBride has roots in comedy, he's confirmed that this will be a suspenseful action movie. He noted that he has a deep love of the G.I. Joe franchise and actually pitched a Dreadnoks movie to Paramount, but they asked if he would do a proper G.I. Joe movie to revive the IP once more, according to this article. So there you go. Next up.
Skydance Animation and Netflix have finally set a release date for Brad Bird's next sci-fi animated feature, Ray Gun. The director behind hits like The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, and Ratatouille last released a feature in 2018 with The Incredibles 2. Oh my god. The 8-year drought between movies is almost over, though, as Ray Gun is officially coming to Netflix in December. Bird has actually been working on this movie for a long time. The director has said that he first wrote a version of the script in 1996 while still working at Warner Brothers Animation. The Ray Gun film is a mashup of retro futuristic sci-fi and classic noir detective stories. Maltese Falcon meets Buck Rogers, Bird said in a press release. Okay.
Interesting mashup. Also, who at this point knows what Buck Rogers even is?
Right. Ray Gun will arrive for the holidays, arriving on Netflix on December 18th.
I'll check it out. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting Incredible 4 at some point, but he's not involved, so I guess we're getting something from him. But next up, in some sad news, yes, I do have to make sure I had put that in here. Iconic actor Hikaru Kurosaki died on Thursday, July the 2nd, at age of 64. If that name is not familiar to you, or if it is familiar to you, then the word Spider-Man would be right on top of your lips for that, because that is who he played in the late 70s. He's also done some. I believe he was also in a not a Sentai series that is famous. Basically, what ended up becoming, or one of the ones that ended up becoming VR Troopers. But I don't know if he did that one or not specifically. But yeah, he was Spider-Man, the emissary from hell, as some would say. So. According to this article, his last TV role was in 1993 in a miniseries, and then he stepped away from acting to become a driving instructor because he was also a stuntman as well. Although he continued to appear at conventions and give interviews about his roles. So, You know, condolences to his family. Next up.
All right, so the Legend of Aang's rumored release date continues an unfortunate trend for Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, The Legend of Aang: The Last Airbender has faced a rocky road ahead of its release, and it now looks like it could debut on an earlier date than expected. The Legend of Aang was expected to come out later this year with October 9 initially slated as its theatrical release date, but following the news that the film would not play in theaters, it was still expected to arrive on Paramount Plus or Plus in the fall. A new report suggests that the last Airbender movie could arrive much sooner though, and it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. Per X account Toon Hive, a schedule shared by Paramount Plus Brazil, which has since been deleted, indicated the film will be out on July 25th. That's several months sooner than planned, but recent challenges might have pushed its debut forward. Given those difficulties, this new date would be another blow to the upcoming film. It would also continue a negative trend for the franchise overall.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure people who love that franchise are going to check it out one way, shape, or form. So I don't know if I can't say that for certain. Put it that way, but got to be a little bit dramatic, I guess. Next up, though, we get to the one piece of the actual real anime news that we have technically. Crunchyroll to re-release Akira in 4K and IMAX in the United States and Canada. That's going to happen this year. Apparently, specifically September 4th, 2026. That's going to happen. So let's see. There's a trailer out there, and a key visual was also shared for the film. You know, if you're an anime fan, you've pretty much seen this, but you know, hey, you may not have seen it in 4K. The film will be released in Japanese with English subtitles as well as in English dub for, you know, for those of you who are interested in that. So yeah, they realized that. There's a poster right there if you're watching the video version that says experience it in 4K. I'd imagine that's actually going to look pretty good though, because that was already a good looking movie. Weird as hell, but a good movie. So I've never seen it in the theaters. That would be a curiosity to do. Not saying it's going to happen, but it'd be a curiosity to do. Now we get over into the one piece of manga news that we have.
Alrighty. Deadpool and other Marvel manga will soon disappear forever. It seems that one of Japan's biggest media companies and the House of Mouse have had a bit of a falling out. Shueisha and Walt Disney Japan have terminated a contract that allowed the former to publish manga featuring manga characters. The agreement expires on September 30th, and Shueisha will gradually remove its Marvel-themed material from digital storefronts from September 28th to 30th, while also ending physical print sales. The publishing agreement was nixed several months ago, but this is the first news about how the breakup will play out. As for the affected manga, Deadpool Samurai 4 volumes, Spider-Man Kazuna 4 volumes, Spider-Man Octogirl 4 volumes, Secret Reverse, and Marvel Shonen Jump Plus Super Collaboration will no longer be available. They will remain in stores while supplies last and can be downloaded from digital storefronts by those who have already purchased them, but will otherwise become impossible to read legally, that is.
Exactly. I love how they put that last part in there because that's absolutely true.
Right. So all the affected manga have actually completed their runs, with Deadpool Samurai finishing most recently.
Right. I actually have a copy of Secret Reverse. I have not read it. Because if I'm not mistaken, that is like the Spider-Man Iron Man team up in Japan. I think it's still right above my head. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Either way, hey, if you're interested in that, you better go grab your copy some way, shape, or form. Or if you, sail the high seas, you already know where to get it. Next up, though, we get into some comic book news. Kelly Thompson and Mattea D. Elias I apologize if I butchered your name.
I
Take
think I
on
said the
Universe.
Useless.
The Euless? Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Take on Universal Monster series. So, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives is the book that is in question. It's going to be a 4-issue series and will launch on October 28th, which I guess some would argue is slightly late, but hey, it's still within that month. Actually, no, it's actually right on time now that I think about it. With 11 covers. So, Kelly Thompson explained in his article the focus of the series. You can check that out in this article if you are interested. And apparently, this is the 8th Universal Monsters series from Skybound, following the recently launched Universal Monsters Blood of the Wolf Man. So there you go. Next up.
Alrighty, next up. I referenced this story earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, Batman finally gets his blank back, but with a twist. A new blank character is joining the Bat family this August, right? And, I teased this before, and I called the character basically a member of the supporting cast and the family. And I'm not looking to spoil it right away because anyone who wants to run out and get a copy of Batman number 11 can still get it and see what's coming down the road.
Yeah, and or go and order Batman number 12 for the full.
Yeah, for like the first full appearance, right?
Right. If you're interested in that type of stuff. Next up, DC Comics will release DC Work in Progress versions of the first issues of The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, according to this article. 2 media-changing series, arguably the most important American comic series of the 1980s, again, according to this article. Work in Progress versions are oversized 11 by 17 editions, featuring the black and white art, revealing the creative process behind the books. So, let's see. Dark Knight Returns number 1, written by Frank Miller with art by Miller and Klaus Johnson, cover by Miller, is made from the original page scans of Miller's 16-page layouts and Johnson's brushwork. The 48-page edition will release on September 16th at $14.99. By fact, both of these books are going to be $14.99. Watchmen number 1 is written by Alan Moore, as you folks may know, with art and covers by Dave Gibbons. It displays Gibbons' artwork in oversized splendor and features a new introduction by Gibbons. It's going to be 40 pages and will release on September 23rd at $14.99. So, if either of those are of interest to folks, have at it when they come out. Next up.
So this is a humble bundle for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and more. So you can get a bunch of trade paperbacks digitally, I guess.
Yes.
So if you found yourself in serious need of comics after seeing DC's superhero smash Supergirl, or if you want to give yourself a crash course before buying tickets, we've got a Supergirl comic bundle just for you, collected. In this humble bundle are a bunch of these books, and support the real heroes at the Book Industry Charitable Foundation with your purchase.
Now, bundle bundles are actually usually pretty good price because, again, are a pretty good value because one, and also it's worth for a worthy cause. Like Agent 7 said, it's a bunch of Supergirl books, but also some Lobo books, Lobo trades. And also with this, you get a free 30 days of DC Ultra Infinite, DC Universe Infinite. Not a sponsor, just saying. That's the thing that's with this. And of course, you get a crypto standalone book. So all of the Supergirl movie bases are covered. You even get Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is the series that was adapted into the movie.
Tom King and Bilky. I just learned that this is how they pronounce the name Bilky.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, because I think we were always saying Bilquis.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I was like, oh, and which is why I said when we were talking about it, it's like, oh, so that's how you say that name. Interesting.
Right.
And again, you can pay what you want, but come on now, it's a charity thing. So, and there's 15 days left. Starts at, according to this, it starts at $25, but you can pay upwards of what you want to. Like I said, $430 value for that, folks. Humble Bundle, not a sponsor, also, but you know what? Like I said, you can get some good bundles on some books. I've got a couple of good bundles off of that for a good cause. So, next up, though, Batman the Animated Series auction is a dream come true for fans. So yeah, there's going to be an auction. Prop Store Auctions is currently in the midst of its summer 2026 animation. I'm sorry, I'm trying to stop this video from playing. Prop Store Auctions is currently in the midst of its summer 2026 animation art live auction, and it includes a bevy of original production sales, productions drawings, camera layouts, drawings, and more from Batman the Animated Series and Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Some of the highlights include a signed Joker drawing from Harley Holiday, a signed Batman and Robin production cell from Showdown, and several signed production cells from Mask of the Phantasm. You can check all of that out at the link that's in this article. And yeah, actually, I need to see when the auction is, because if it's already gone, then it's probably a little bit too late. But yeah, you can check that out in the article if you're interested. Next up.
Alrighty, next.
We can get into some toy news.
All right. Marvel Legends Valentina Allegra de Fontaine and The Void 2-pack. This is out on Amazon Entertainment Earth, Hasbro Pulse. This is the movie version of the Contessa, and The Void is an all blacked out version of Sentry. So if this is up your alley, go ahead. Take a dive.
Indeed. Or you can just, take your Sentry and dip it in black paint. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good likeness of Elaine. I mean, the Contessa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is indeed it is. And actually, just reminds me, something I forgot to mention earlier. Clickbait section. If you check that out, there's a couple of live streams. One does not have to do with that, but one has to do with something that is actually coming up. There's a G.I. Joe fan stream that's been happening for the last 4 weeks on Hasbro Pulse, and there's also the Transformers fan stream that has also happened this month, and some other stuff that is in the clickbait section that you may or may not want to check out. But next up, Blade, Loki, Deadpool. Has been announced for Marvel Token Fighting Souls. And yes, folks, this rounds out the last team to be announced. And the team is called the Samurai Outriders, which will consist of those three folks and Ghost Rider, who had already been announced well before now. And it is the Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider, just in case you're interested or wondering. So yeah, so we're getting Blade, we're getting Deadpool, of course, because of course we're getting Deadpool and Loki. I was about to say a couple of Marvel Rivals staples in that lineup, and there's a trailer that is attached to this, showcasing those characters. This, of course, came out at Evo, which was this past weekend. Apparently, they had a nice Marvel Token Fighting Souls cabinet that I wish I could have seen, but I did not. Let's see. And also, if I'm not mistaken, a new stage. Yes, Asgard has been announced as a new stage. There's Blade there, Loki, Deadpool. But also, it was announced that an open beta on PC and the PS5 that is coming on July 24th through the 26th. So, and Blade will be playable in that beta. So basically, that is that is probably like the last push and network test for Marvel Token Fighting Souls before it comes out in a week or two later, because it is coming out like August the 6th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so folks can, if you have a PS4, PS5, excuse me, and or a PC and want to check it out for yourselves before it comes out, there's your chance. Next up.
Alrighty, next up. Let's see. The MCU's Daniel Bruhl returns as Baron Zemo to build his own Magic the Gathering Marvel Superheroes deck. Good God. I would get these. Let's see. So Bruhl takes center stage in a new German language trailer for Magic the Gathering's Marvel Superheroes crossover set, and he even dons a comic accurate Zemo outfit, sans the mask, while forming his own villain deck. Good God.
Yes. Actually, on a side note, I just saw earlier today that Iman Vellani was also in a Magic the Gathering. I don't know if it was a commercial or something, but it was a little skit or something. I believe probably also either making her own deck or talking about the cards, one of which she's on, or her character is on, excuse me. So they've actually been getting some names for a couple of these. So that's funny. I have not watched this German language video yet, but I don't think he's going to be doing the dance, sadly. But I will probably check it out at some point. Next up, though, the aforementioned Joe live stream is what I'm going to be talking about here. So, in fact, I'm going to take the next one because it is related. So, on the last Joe June stream, which had Dan, what's his face from Secret Galaxy, aka Tower Galaxy, who's been on all month. So, because apparently he's a big G.I. Joe fan and collector. But there were pre-orders and stuff that were talked about. One of which was Iceberg, which is a character I'm not familiar with. There's a Duke character, Mistress Armada. There's a Toxo Viper. And there's a new character that was made called Synapse, which I'm not too particularly crazy about, but some pretty probably like it. But also in collaboration with G.I. Joe. Oh, and there's also Sergeant Slaughter's Triple T that was also announced, and I believe is.
You're not familiar with Iceberg?
No, I knew
he was
of
like the black snow trooper.
Right, so he's basically Snowdrop but black. And I was like, well, wait, isn't that Alpine? But I know Alpine is different.
No, but he's more of a mountain guy. Yeah.
Right. So, but like I said, in collaboration with G.I. Joe, there's a collaboration with Tomb Raider. So there's a Lara Croft character that was announced. There was also Action Man, but I think Action Man might have been the week before because I had watched all of those videos back to back last night or a couple of nights ago. But that is also a thing for pre-order for Lara Croft fans. Apparently also, name only reveals. There was Footloose and Mutt and Junkyard pack. So there's a 2-pack with those two. The Triple T was also a name only reveal. So that actually was not a pre-order already. But that's basically saying that's something that's coming down the line. There's also Flash. And some other stuff. We don't have to necessarily go through all of that, but they announced a whole lot of stuff in the past few weeks. And yeah, like I said, most of that stuff is, including Iceberg, or at least Iceberg, Duke, Mistress Armada, Toxo Viper, and the new character Synapse are all on pre-order. And we've already previously talked about the Cobra Commander in the chair because that was from that first week. And Action Man was also revealed. So yeah, those are out there. Some of them have a pre-order out there if you want to check those out for yourself. Next up.
All right, so you combine those two stories,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up is NECA, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Horror for Target Geek Out Summer 2026. So new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and modern horror figures from NECA will be available to pre-order today. Today as in already, because this was last week, for Target Geek Out Summer 2026. Included for TMNT are 4 turtles in disguise, featuring Sailor Raphael, Incognito Michelangelo, Construction Donatello, and Tuxedo Leonardo, otherwise known as the Village People.
Rest in
The
peace,
Village
Victor
People
Willis.
Turtles. Right. That's exactly why it came to mind, because I heard that on a news podcast today that the one musician in the Village People passed away. The Archie Comics Leatherhead is also going to be available for the horror release. Those include the Santa Ghostface, not Ghostface Killer, but Ghostface as in the Scream character, Black and White Pennywise, and Thanksgiving Art the Clown. Clowns! These go live at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so they're already live, y'all. So if you're trying to get that, you need to go to the Target Geek Out landing page.
Yeah. So funny thing about the Turtles one, in one of those fan streams from one of those Hasbro fan streams, there was a collaboration with, I think we may have already talked about this, I can't remember though, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe, where basically the Turtles are dressed up as Joes. And of course, Raphael was also dressed up as Shipwreck. So it's kind of funny that 2 different companies did a similar theme with that character. Next up, though, shine bright with Mattel's new K-pop Demon Hunters singing Mira. So yeah, they're starting to come out, folks. They're actually starting to get their act together and putting out stuff. So the singing Mira doll is currently available through a variety of online retailers, according to this article, for $32.99. And also, according to this article, saying it's selling out fast. It's 11 inches tall. And you can, if you're watching the video version, you can see the figure right there, and the box that it comes in. And of course, there is also one for the other 2 girls, including the next one, which is the Zoe one.
Okay. So it's the next story.
Yeah.
Zoe shows Mattel how it's done with new K-pop Demon Hunters doll. This is an 11-inch Zoe doll. The Zoe doll features 11 points of articulation for dynamic poses and display-ready playability. Zoe's movie-inspired look includes her How It's Done outfit, Nordigate charm, sneakers, and spirit blades. Available now at Target, Walmart, and select retailers. The K-pop Demon Hunter Zoe doll is priced at $26.99.
But why is Mira more than Zoe?
Because this, I don't think this one is a singing one.
Oh, this is okay. This is basically another version of. Got it.
Right,
Okay.
right. This is, and it's a different outfit too, because the outfit that Mira is being, like that is one of their performance uniforms. I think the uniform that the costume that Zoe's wearing in that picture is kind of like the regular uniform that one of the regular uniforms that they wear.
Sure. Okay. And of course, in case the last 2 stories did not give you the hint, Hasbro's first K-pop Demon Hunters toys are released. So yeah, these are not those. These are basically Furbies. If you're watching the video version, yeah, Hasbro put out some Furbies. One I presume is a Saja Boys inspired, and the other is a K-pop Demon Hunters one. Wait, there's excuse me. Here's some names: Furblets of Derpy Tiger and Demon Jinu. Specifically, are those? Let's see. Those are the singing dolls. There's the Furbies in the boxes right there, and I guess that's it for right now. But apparently, well, wait, hold on. So apparently there's K-pop Demon Hunters roleplay items, including nerf items such as Rumi's 4-Tiger Sword, Mira's Curved Moon Sword, and Zoe's Spirit Blades, as well as Huntrix and Saja Boy's electronic light sticks. So according to Hasbro, all of these items that were mentioned will be available at most retailers by mid-July. Just in time for San Diego. Yay. And I believe I did see, which I'll leave that for next week, but there is seems like there might be an exclusive for San Diego for that franchise. Last but not least,
There's another story?
there is. I'll take it. There's Marvel Stormbreakers send heroes into fantasy realms with new isekai variant covers. So there's one for Jeff the Land Shark. There's Mary Jane Face It Tiger. Of course, the isekai covers is characters that have been isekai'd, which means they're in another land, a distant or another dimension that is not the 616. So there's Mary Jane. There's the Miles Morales one.
Mary Jane is like free rent.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that. So yeah. So there you go. So anime inspired,
Like an elf mage.
Right. Well, yeah, because I was just going standard elf situation. I didn't attach it to something specific, but yeah, that was a good pull there. So yeah, there's Miles Morales. There's the Wolverine one. If you're watching the video version, the Wolverine one looks like a Dark Souls cover, which yeah, I can see that. And there's the X-Men cover with Psylocke, Quentin Quire, and Beast. I thought that was Lockheed in the back, but I don't think so. So yeah, so those covers are going to start coming out August the 5th and going on for the next 3-4 weeks after that, ending in the Venom 261 Isekai cover. So there you go. That's it, folks, for the news. Before we get to the last ad break, I believe Agent 70 and I also had some little bit of show and tell.
Yeah, we got some show and tell right now. So do you want to go first?
Go for it. I got you.
Oh, you want me to go first? All right, so check this out. So I was mildly surprised that I got an email announcing that I had been charged my pre-order for this, and soon after I saw this appear on my doorstep. And I'm gonna drop the virtual background because I think it's important enough to show in all its glory. So let's see, let me change the background. It didn't turn off. I don't want to turn off my camera. That's it. Change background. That's what I want to do. The King of Hell has come in. Mephisto.
Oh, nice.
Marvel Legends came in. I have not opened it yet, obviously. But this is the front of the box. The side. And here's the back of the box. That's a pretty good shot of the figure right there.
That's pretty sweet.
Right? And that's like the back of the throne. And you just know that this is going to be set up in a little diorama with Daredevil, with Thanos to kind of reenact the opening, one of the opening scenes in Infinity Gauntlet. But yeah, this is a pretty cool looking figure. Pretty cool, it's kind of cool that, it's not a HasLab, but it was built to order, right? So you had to order it to get it. And I'm sure they built, I'm sure they made, it's available now on Hasbro Pulse. So they made a few extras so that you could pick it up now, but it's not going to be out there forever, folks. So, if this is something that interests you, the Mephisto is available on Hasbro Pulse now.
Yes, you too can recreate Brand New Day.
Right.
The comic version, if you so desire. But what kind of heinous person would do such a thing? All right, so we're gonna flip it over to myself really quick because it should be no surprise of what I have, given something we talked about a little earlier. So I got a copy of the Commander deck, or one of the Commander. There's 4 of them. I still got 3 more to get for Magic the Gathering. This one is the Wakanda Forever one, so I definitely want to make sure I had that one. So Commander decks are 100 is a mode, and Commander's a mode in Magic the Gathering. It's 100 cards. You got one copy of each card. You can play with definitely multiple features. In fact, most times people do. It's usually a 4 play by people, 4 folks all battling each other, and whatnot. Yeah, there's the back of the box right there. But also, there is my set of Marvel Superheroes Jumpstart cards that I just also got in the mail. So Jumpstart is another mode in Magic the Gathering where basically if you take 2 packs out of here, they are themed packs. So one could be, I don't know, Spider-Man and Green Goblin, let's just say. I don't know if those would actually be the themes of the packs, but you pick out 2 packs in the card, you put them all together, and you make a deck. Starts to get, it's easier for folks to kind of get in and start learning Magic by that way, because like I said, all you're just doing is throwing 2 packs together and 2 theme packs together and having at it. So therein lies that. I need to open these at some point, and along with some of the other stuff that I still have yet to open up yet with these cards, but therein lies that. And with that, folks, we are going to get into our last ad read, which is
our last ad read for this episode. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
all right, folks. That is it for this week's episode. I believe Agent 70, you mentioned something about possible movie protocol for next week, or has that
plans have slightly changed. I'll be on the road probably that day, but I won't be going to attend a screening of the Odyssey. So I should be available to record, just not not in the usual confines.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that being the case, then I don't think totally forgot that X-Men 97 was premiering this week, even though we had talked about it. But that's fine. So we still have that to contend with next week. We still have my Adventures with Superman coming out next week, so we'll be talking about that stuff. No movies protocol to speak of. That being the case, not yet, at least until the end of the month. And yeah, we'll be back for another show then. And it's only going to be a couple of more weeks until San Diego. That is now thrusting upon us very fast.
Yeah, it's coming up fast and furious. Listen, it's always different when you're going, right? Since I'm not going this year, the rush that San Diego kind of causes, that kind of thrill isn't there. But trust me, the news is going to be coming fast and furious as always.
Oh yeah.
And now that I have a way to put all of that into context, right? And I can just imagine what this is all looking like in the lines for these panels, what they look like. And there's one thing I did not really attempt to do because it was a little crazy, but to go into Hall H, right? The really big announcements where there are people waiting online basically all day to sit in Hall H. So, while I did not do that, I can, I do remember where they stand. I do remember the lines that they would be on, but I was on enough panels. I was online to get into enough panels where I had to queue up, in other parts of the building and kind of snake around. It's very much like New York, in that regard. But yeah, like I said, I can just imagine the town, the area around the San Diego Convention Center gearing up for the convention as it's fast approaching.
Oh yeah, indeed. Con season is here and upon us. It is in full swing, folks. If you did not know that by now. So yeah, we'll be back with all that, and we look forward to another. Not to say we wouldn't have them any other time, but we look forward to another. I know people love that. I'm pretty sure when Matt comes by after the cons.
Oh yeah,
we'll definitely be trying to get him in after that and talk about his experiences there and see what he got into. But that's a few weeks from now. So right now we are gonna close this up by saying I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerd on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
do it today.
You can also find this on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. But also, you can find this recording Thursday nights most of the times. YouTube.com/TheKliqNation and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles at 9:30, closer to 10 o'clock.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. That helps people find our shows. And of course, click like, subscribe, smash that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct. Leave us positive reviews wherever you find us.
Indeed. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Have a very safe and happy 4th of July. Don't be shooting off too much stuff. And for heaven's sake, please don't go too late. People trying to sleep. Doggone it.
Listen, stay safe out there, everybody.
Yep.
Have a great holiday weekend. Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?